the other component for maybe certain individuals who, in the fiat world, in the state system, often politicians and people who, maybe people that, Bitcoiners are out there trying to get anyone on board, right? Anyone on board who we can. But some of these people have very little time across all these different issues. Like maybe they, particularly at the political level, they might only spend a small amount of time on, on Bitcoin and have all these, whatever, medical policy and foreign affairs and whatever else. So I'm curious what you're seeing when you're out there, obviously trying to teach people how you can sort of make a difference when they've only got a small amount of time to seriously read about Bitcoin or learn about Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I try to start where they are rather than where I am. Like, what's the biggest thing that you're facing? What's the biggest challenge that you're facing? And then try to get them to try to solve that through the fiat system. And I just keep asking them questions, the 5 questions that just go deeper into, okay, well, how do you do that then? How do you do that? And once they get, there is no solve, now you can talk about something that could solve it in a different way, a unique way that they don't see. Because until you get there, they're grasping. They actually believe that there's a solve, or they've through that system. One of my finance committee meetings, and actually Polyev pulled me into it, but in Canada, just was glaring on this. So I did the finance committee meeting, talked about kind of the new system, and then there were 10 other speakers, or 8 to 10 other speakers at the same time, and every single one of those had a sob story, like a massive sob story, major pain. I'm not saying sob story in that way. It's just major pain in their community that they needed money to solve. And so the governments are, and they're all kind of designated from those regions. Are they going to listen to me talking about the broad-based implications of everything else, or are they going to solve the major pain right now? And they try to solve the major pain right now, and they make it worse. But they actually think, or many think, they're actually solving the problem while making it worse. So it just clarified for me why my time wasn't valuable there. Right, my time was more. In fact, why we started Ego Death is my time was more valuable helping build the rails and helping entrepreneurs build the rails to move this faster. Because I realized most people wouldn't see this through an abstract concept. They had to have technology that gave them more value in their lives, and that had to be easier to interoperate with and scale and everything else to be able to do that. So I've intentionally moved my time away from doing a bunch of that. I'll still do some when asked, but I find it a low return on my time.
Yeah, that's the big dilemma as well, Brad. I think for many of us, when we first learned about Bitcoin, like when I first learned about it in 2013, I was shouting from the rooftops. All right, I was just anyone I would just be posting constantly about it, telling anyone I could about it, and many of those people. Now, I got through to some people.
Yep.
And some of those people sort of, maybe they bought Bitcoin and then sold it again, then kind of came back a few years later and they were like, oh, thank you, man. Like, thank you for doing this. But then there were a lot of people who, I wasn't able to get to them. And maybe that was on me. I wasn't influential enough. I wasn't good enough. Or in some cases, they were not ready to hear the message, right? Because maybe they just weren't there yet.
Yep.
And I think that's what you're sort of getting to there as well, that sometimes people they're just not ready. So then you sort of come to almost like a triaging system. You're like, okay, I'm talking to this person. Can I help this person? Or no, okay, I'm going to spend my time on the people who I can help.
Yep.
Right? And that's sort of my approach, I guess, evolved and shifted a little bit over those years. And I think nowadays I don't have a lot of, let's say, quote unquote, normie friends, because I've managed to get them in, and now it's kind of, I can have more enjoyable conversations. But obviously you're generally meeting new people as well, so then you have to kind of do the same triage process with them. But it's sort of like at the same time. So here's the other dilemma, though, right? Because it's like sometimes if you are really persuasive, or if you're really passionate, you can sort of break through to people. But other times you can't.
Yep.
And there are times where you sort of lament, oh, I wish I could have got through to this person.
So, Stephan, you have probably touched millions of people through other people that you've touched that then have touched other people. And so have I. Like, and you don't even know. Sometimes that is so subtle that they heard one thing. They don't even realize it was you or your podcast that then got them. They heard something else, and then they heard something else, and then they became curious, and they thought it was them that gained that curiosity that might have been you that inserted it first. You could never know that, nor should we, right? It's just how the world works as we change our beliefs, and it moves across kind of time and space as we do that. That's actually why you also shouldn't be mad or angry that somebody doesn't get it, because it's not about them. It's like if you're trying to do good in the world and doing this, then if somebody gets it or doesn't get it, or if they kind of get an insight and then later get it because of it, that's a great thing. Just keep going. And you see this in Bitcoin. There's more and more people. There's a lot of people. If you just said 0 to 10, kind of on the scale down the rabbit hole, if you used a scale like that, there's a lot of people in Bitcoin that are at 1 or 2, and they're talking like they're a 10.
Right.
And so, and in that, they would confuse a whole bunch of other people, right? Because they don't have some of the answers that you go deeper and deeper. And I'm not even saying what level I'm at or what level you're at, but but you can see this journey it's a deep journey. It touches everything. And as you get deeper and deeper into the journey, you become changed. And then you think you were always the same. You always knew this, and you didn't, right? It goes. Every single one of us goes through the same path, and so when I watch it, even Bitcoiners, or the general, it's just part of the journey. It's just part of the journey that we all go through in change.
Yeah, I'm with you there. One other topic I've seen you talk about recently is this idea of the system you give energy to. Do you want to just elaborate a little bit on this idea? Why is it important to focus on the system you're giving energy to?
Yeah, I touched on it briefly through that love and belonging. But let's use an example of I'm on a march down the street against my government, and I'm burning cars and I'm breaking windows, and then I go home and sleep, and then the next day all the windows are streets fixed, windows are fixed. Where did the money come from to do that, right? And it's you. Money came from you to be able to extend that. If you're voting on one side or the other, you're voting. I'm not saying don't vote, but if you're voting for a Fiat politician, you're effectively saying who gets more of the stolen money, which group gets more of the stolen money that comes from me. And so all of these things from this system, if you're mad at it and you're spending your energy reinforcing that, and you're spending your energy with other people that are reinforcing that you're spending your most valuable time making the system stronger over you, because the system is already insolvent. The system's already it would fail spectacularly if it were a free market. So it is not a free market at all. It's a control system. And why freedom is so connected to this is it's not a free market. It's a control system. And that control system has to usurp more and more of your energy. And you will feed it more and more of your energy. It's just a total natural thing. When you see what the senators in the US just voted for and essentially spying on every citizen. Like 4 years ago when I wrote my book, I knew this was coming. It had to come. Because so I'm not surprised by any of it. I'm not surprised by any of this stuff that's coming, because technology is supposed to free our time and give us more and more on an exponential scale. Remember, inflation shouldn't be measured from zero. It should be measured from the implied deflation rate. So the amount of stealing that is going on, the rate of theft in your environment is going up and is dividing people more. And that division is making the system stronger to be able to steal more. How do you get elected in that cycle throughout history? It's pretty simple. If you watch all history books, you divide your nation, you steal control, you take away some of their individual rights and freedoms in the name of helping them. It doesn't fix the problem, so you have to create a greater enemy outside your borders, and you go to war to reset it. If you win the war, you reset the currency from zero, and you start it, and you promise we won't do it again, Bretton Woods, and then you do it again. It's the entire history of our world. So why would you expect anything different from that system? That's exactly what that system has to do. It just has to do it at a greater scale than anybody has ever seen before, because technology is moving at a greater scale on the opposite timeline. And I realize everything I do from within that system makes that system stronger. And I've just tuned it out. I realize it's all coming. All these attack vectors are coming. I know they're coming. If people, I would say they think, okay, Jeff he doesn't see these because he's so optimistic. No, I see them all. I've done so much work on all of these attack vectors and what's coming. It's just my energy is way better helping build the anti-attack vectors to be able to heal the world. And I'm not moving back. I'm never going back. I know what decentralized insecurity means for humanity. You do, Stephan. You're not going back. Jack Dorsey does. Alex Gladstein does. The amount of people that know this now, have this insight, and are moving into a world that we're creating through our actions. Spending more time creating that world is actually accelerates this speed of that. And so I can talk in a really positive way about the world we're creating. And I don't have to get involved in all the nonsense.